All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashmi Shah Bashmi Rakak Radash, and double honors to the apostles of the great millstone, and as well as giving the salutations thereof towards the Akim, that's forwarding this truth, and Shalom to the Akim or Akwaf on the side that support what we say and what we do as well. And, once again, it's your brother Laban coming at you with another lesson. And what I want to get into, and as usual, I start on this subject matter earlier in the week, because that's what it's all about. It's all about speaking on subject matters in regards to the Motb, which is now the CBDCs. And something that I didn't really know that was going on, because someone told me about it. And usually news like this should be out as the primal kind of news, but again, you have to find this stuff by doing some digging, or someone may have known this information and then they send it to other people and share it. And I mean, as what would happen, I mean, if this was primal news, then this would influence people to take a stand on the streets and do what these people are doing in the Netherlands. And that's not what they want at all. So anyway, let's get started. Citizens of the Netherlands protest against the launch of the Euro CBDCs. The citizens of the Netherlands protested yesterday at the House of Representatives against the launch of the Euro CBDCs currency. A video was shared showing protesters with placards exercising their civil rights. Some of them read, CBDCs digital jail, defund the state, buy Bitcoin, CBDCs we say no. The protesters in response to the legislative framework approving the use of the digital euro. 2 weeks ago, the Queen of the Netherlands, Queen Maxima, declared her support for the currency. She stated as a virtual European conference that the digital euro would promote financial inclusion in undeserved communities, and it would also reduce transaction and remittance fees in European countries. She went on to say, the public sector representatives have a duty to ensure the financial system is open, inclusive, and responsive to the need of all groups. So let us envision that better future to build a digital euro that works for all Europeans. And obviously she's going to say that because she's obviously a part of that conglomeration which will enroll this. All right. So she has to sell this product, which is the CBDCs, that it will be helpful, especially onto those that are unfortunate, and use many other words to sway the minds to agree with this. But people in the Netherlands are not accepting this at all because they've watched other videos and they know where this can lead to. They've done their research. And this is what's going on around the world. People are beginning to do their research and they're finding out about the bad side of the CBDCs, which is what they won't tell you. And the day that I'm talking about are those that are a part of the secret conglomeration, which controls the system entirely. And they have plans. And what is the ultimate plan? Is to get everybody C-hipped. The CBDC's program is not new, as it has been ongoing for about 2 years. In 2020, the Dutch bank signed an agreement with the European Bank to use the Netherlands as a test subject for the CBDCs, and the project has been well thought out and planned, but the citizens seem to be having none of it, and they are requesting the full use of Bitcoin and other altcoins. The Netherlands was the host country for a Bitcoin conference in October, and the conference drew influential guests from around the world, including Prince Philip of Serbia. So that's all this article has. And as I just read on how the Netherlands is becoming test country for this, but the people in the country, again, are not agreeing with this. So this just goes to show you as to what we've been saying all along, especially the prophets, which is what we are. We believe that we are. That this New World system, which as Klaus Schwab coined as the Great Reset, it's not going to be operating all the way as they would like it to be. It's not going to work. Officially is what I'm saying, you know? And this is just a glimpse, because it's not just the people in the Netherlands that know what's up. It's people all around the different countries, especially around Europe. I would say, you know, they know way more as to what's going on. You know, you got some Americans that are waking up to this as well. But as I will more say, you know, people in Europe kind of know what it is. All of this CBDC stuff is all coming out of Europe anyway. So yes, the people should know about it in Europe more so. All right. So yeah, so there you go. So now I want to go somewhere else with it, and we'll get to that in a moment, that video where she breaks it down as to what could possibly be the case if they enroll this thing and is in activation. So yeah, let's get into the book of 2 Corinthians 2 in verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, because we're prudent men. And according to the scriptures in the book of Proverbs, I believe it's 12, a prudent man looketh well to his goings, while the simple pass on and are judged. I'm roughly paraphrasing just a bit on that scripture. Because the Most High quickened us, and now we know exactly what world we're part of. And most importantly, first and foremost, we know who we are, and we know who our enemy is, which controls this world, and we know what his devices are. As it is written also that we have an unctioning, which is anointing, which is what the word unction means. That, again, we know all things. And according to the Apocrypha, that we are not to be ignorant of a matter great or small. So we know exactly what the deal is out here. And especially our enemy. We know our enemy and we know his devices. And we're prudent in that. And the word prudent is quite similar to the word prejudice, which means to judge. So let's go down here and look up this word. So the word prudent, in other words, showing good judgment in avoiding risk and uncertainty, and careful. And once again, you know, that's the mentality that we have. We're very careful of the times that we're living in. We're careful of the people that we surround ourselves with, and as well as we're careful in what we do, and as well as even judging ourselves. And in this world, it's kind of equivalent to that of almost it being a crime to be prejudiced. People tell you, or you've probably heard it before, oh, you know, why you have to be so judgmental? Oh, he's prejudiced. And it's kind of like, you know, when you hear this word prejudice, it's almost as if it's like a buzzword, which can include, it means that you're racist, or you have, you know, antisocial views. You know what I'm saying, right? But the word prejudice just simply means to judge before. From the word pre, it's a compound word. The word pre means before, and judice means to judge. And this is where you get the term judicial from. When you think about the term judicial, you associate that with court, which you go to court and you're judged of a crime that you've committed. So it just means to judge before. And people judge all the time. Whenever you see someone walking down the street, automatically, subconsciously, you're judging a person, whether you're consciously aware of that or not. Even when you put your clothes on, you're judging what kind of clothes you want to put on, whether it's the shoes you want to wear, whether it's the shirt or your pants. You're judging everything. All right. You're judging how you feel. Oh, I feel tired. Oh, I feel exhilarating. This is what we do. But society wants us to not judge, because when you're judging, that means you're thinking. So ultimately, just don't think for yourselves. Don't be careful. Just do as you will. In other words, come under that do as thou wilt hedonism kind of spirit. Because that's what they want. They don't want people to think. If you think, that means they can't control you. The powers that be, to be exact. So the less that you do think is the more likely, it's more effectively they can control you. And that's the real reason why they don't want people to be prejudiced. And people say these things because they hear it on they hear this buzzword from people on TV. Oh, you can't be prejudiced and this and that and the third. But the word prejudice just means to judge. And you're supposed to judge every single thing. So speaking of being prejudiced, as what is commanded of Esdras, not only was this a command to the prophet himself, but is a command even also after we read it. So this is our 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, and even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And we see all of this happening. We see the protestings, we see the constant earthquakes going on, and we're judging the times. So the scriptures commands you to be judgmental. Let's go into another scripture, and let's get into the precept of Proverbs 27:12. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Those that are not thinking. Which what we found out years ago is that over 90% of the population are not really thinking. So if they're not thinking, who's doing it for them? And this is why many will come under the umbrella of the of this technological world, and they're going to agree to it. Now you're going to have people in certain parts of the world, as you have it in Netherlands and many different places. People are not really agreeing with it, man. And you do have a certain amount of people that are talking about how this thing can affect people in a negative way. You do have that, but for the most part, most people are just going by and going on the trends that's detrimental to them. So also what I also want to read is something else, because down here in the UK, HSBC, to be exact, closed about 114 banks. And there's many other companies of banks that are going to close down as well. But anyway, the HSBC are looking to close even more banks. As this article will tell you from thisisthemoney.co.uk, banks set for more branches closures after the big HSBC call, and the determination is to drive down costs and bully customers to go online, hitting the high streets. Mass branches closures are to continue into next year as the major banks drive down costs and bully customers to go online, and it will result in hundreds of towns being left without a bank, as alternative banking arrangements such as shared branches, banking hubs are not openly quickly enough. And this is the view of the banking experts in the wake of HSBC's decision to axe nearly a quarter of its branches network. Some 114 high street sites will close from next April, with the HSBC saying the move is in response to banking remotely becoming the norm. This is on the top of 69 closures announced in March and now implemented. HSBC's branch culling means that big banks have confirmed 617 closures this year, with Santander giving notice of 5 the day before the HSBC announcements, the nationwide closing one day later, and Barclays axing 11 on Friday. So all of these companies of banks are closing their banks, but HSBC with the most. And the ultimate reason why they're doing this, because we already know what the ultimate plan is: to restructure the banking systems. Like, for example, I was reading an article in the World Economic Forum on how they want to transform the economy, which is now, to a digital one. And this is what they're doing. All right. And now what I want to also show you too is this individual here.
When you remove cash and money and it's all digital, that means that the people providing you with the transactions, the platforms to do transactions are online, then the community guidelines for that company providing you that service of making transactions, the community guidelines become the law, because you're no longer using your free speech to hold a shitty feces covered dollar and say, I'm going to buy this whatever, this whittled knife from this guy. You no longer have the exchange in the physical. So when compliance becomes the currency, then when you dissent, non-compliance, it is literal theft. If logically, compliance equals money, equals participation. Non-participation is you're actually stealing from people in that model. And people have to wake up to that and ask themselves, that's the logical follow. Do you want that? Do you want your compliance to be the currency? Do you want to participate in this circular economy where everyone gives you your everything you need? Okay, well, you need to not say this. You need to take 5 vaccines. You need to, you name it. You don't get your fancy, cotton candy and carrots until you comply. And that's where.
And that's how they're going to do this thing. Like, once you get this this electronic C-hip inside of you in connection with the internet, which you will become the internet of bodies, this is what they'll be able to do, is to keep tabs on what you do and what you can't do. That can even include what you say. If you say the wrong thing, they can freeze your bank account. Just like, for example, on YouTube, if you say the wrong thing on YouTube or any Silicon Valley social media outlet, again, you get suspended. So just imagine when they have that C-hip in activation and the whole digital world is in full activation as well. That's what they're going to be able to do. They can freeze your bank account for like a couple of days. And while they're doing that, they're investigating why you said what you said, or they're investigating why you buy that particular thing or two. And then what that's going to lead to, that's going to lead to you having that fear so that you don't do the outside thing. And remember, just like Klaus Schwab said, I believe he said it in Indonesia when he had that when he gave his speech down there, and he said something to the effect of how China is the model. And he also, I remember he said something to the effect of, I'm not trying to say that everyone should copy China in their digital setting, but that's basically the role model that we should all follow. And you already know, I mean, whatever Claus is saying, everyone's going to have to go with it. Whoever's under the council of the World Economic Forum, whatever nation that is, they're going to have to agree what he's saying on that regard. All right. So like this man said, they'll be able to suspend you if you don't comply, and your currency gets affected by that. So there's so many ways that they can manipulate your life. And this is the plan, man. This is what we see happening. Just like it reads in the book of Proverbs 27, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And that's not one part of it. The ultimate evil that we do see is that when they do bring in this Motb, the mark of the you-know-what, we know what evil is going to come thereafter, the ultimate evil, if you take it. And that's why we won't take it. Even if it means our life being on the line, we won't take it, because we don't have a life in this world anyway. So we're not going to take that mark because they say so. Because we know if we do take it, we know what the repercussions are going to be. And all you have to do is read Revelations 14, 9, and 10, and that will tell you what the repercussion is. Yeah, so just to fast forward just a little bit, about Elon Musk says he'd be comfortable in planting a Neuralink brain chip in one of his children, as it goes as far as to read. Elon Musk said he'd be comfortable in planting a brain chip developed by his company Neuralink into one of his children, speaking at a show and tells event hosted at Neuralink's headquarters on Wednesday. Musk said he would feel comfortable in planting the chip into one of his children if they had a serious injury, such as a broken neck. I would say we're at the point where, at least in my opinion, it would not be dangerous, he added. Neuralink's brain computer interface hopes to give those suffering from paralyzing conditions a way to communicate via their thoughts. And I remember I did a video, and I've did countless of videos on this, on how people that were suffering due to paralysis were unparalyzed because they had that implant in them that allowed them to do things that they were incapable of doing before they had it. Like one guy that I can remember, he was driving this NASCAR on the oval track, and he didn't even have to use his hands to move the steering wheel. As I can remember, I don't even think there was a steering wheel. He could drive the car with his thoughts. So if he wanted the car to go, he would think the car to go, and the car would go. And if he wanted the car to turn, he would turn his head, and the car would literally turn wherever he turned his head. And even this guy down here in Britain, forgot where he lives. He was on the 4 channels. It's one of those UK channels you brothers in the US would know about. And they was bigging him up. They was promoting this guy. He was nameless. And this dude was able to drive his car and to unlock his door without even having to use his key. So he was a little bit more advanced than the average person without this electronic tag that he had inside of him. So just to let you know, for so many years, they've been selling this product to the people, man. As I'm always going to say, they want to sell this product to people and convince people that this is the way to go. And this is why he said what he said. He wouldn't mind putting it in his one of his children. And he's going to say that because, again, he's selling a product, man. And he's an important vessel or token that they're going to use to roll this thing out. And if it's not him, it could be someone else. Because Elon Musk is going through some issues right now. So they may just even use somebody else to pull this off with. Because eventually this is what it's going to be anyway. It's Bible prophecy. So anything that involves Bible prophecy, you already know what it is. It's going to come to pass. Speaking at a show and tell events hosted at Neuralink's headquarters on Wednesday, Musk said he would feel comfortable once again implanting the chip into one of the children if they had a serious injury such as a broken neck. And he goes as far as to say, I would say we're at the point where, at least in my opinion, it would not be dangerous, he added. Neuralink's brain-computer interface hopes to give those suffering from paralyzing conditions a way to communicate via their thoughts. Neuralink's brain chip has tiny wires embedded with electrodes that monitors brain activity and aims to electrically stimulate the brain. So it's able to monitor brain activity. This is the place where Esau wants to sit in. Esau wants to sit in your mind and steer your mind in many directions he wants it to go. So in order for him to do this, he's gonna get you with that mark, and he's gonna sell this product to you, telling you that it's good. You can become a god almost if you have this implantable device in your head, so to speak, which goes into, what is it, Revelations 13:16, where it reads, he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, which the organ which is behind the forehead is your brain. All right. And once again, this is where Esau wants to sit in. He wants to sit in your mind and steering your mind wherever he wants to go. Complete control. Stimulate the brain. Company plans to embed the chips into a person's skull with a robot. Neuralink he also developing. Musk said he expects human trials to begin in the next 6 months. So they don't even have the, let me correct myself. So he wants to implant this in your skull. So this is it right here. This goes right into the book of Revelations 13 and 16.